Today, Great.com talks with Kat Mattes, who is the president and CEO at John Tracy Center. If you haven't heard of them, they are a non-profit organization on a mission to provide parent-centered services to young children with hearing loss. If you are new here, please press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because today we learn the importance of helping children develop speech, language, and listening skills. Hello, Kat, and welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having me. And thanks for having John Tracy Center.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Kat, I really look forward to diving in a bit more about John Tracy Center and what you guys do. So, the first question would be, for me and anybody new here, what is John Tracy Center and what do you do?
Sure. So John Tracy Center was formerly known as John Tracy Clinic. We're almost 80 years old. Back in 1943, Louise Tracy and Spencer Tracy had a son, John. Spencer Tracy was a famous actor here in Hollywood, and so was his wife, Louise. They discovered when John was about 10 months old that he had hearing loss. And Louise Tracy knew that she wanted to provide her son with every single opportunity to interact with the neighborhood kids. She researched, she went all over the United States to learn what she could do. And in 1943, some mothers came to her. John was already older. He was in his teens and later in life, and he was very successful. And parents came to her and said, we also have children with hearing loss. What can we do? How can we learn about the ways to provide our child different opportunities to communicate? So they begged her, and she decided to start John Tracy Clinic at the time. And in 1943, about 13 mothers got together and they started having parent classes. They formed a preschool. They learned all that they could do to provide kind of comprehensive educational services. So ever since then, since 1943, JTC, or John Tracy Center, has been the leading provider of comprehensive educational and audiological services for children with hearing loss. We have a variety of programs where children with their families involved in every part of the way learn to develop speech and language and listening skills. And the parents are taught how to be their child's best advocate. They are brought together in groups, support groups, as they're learning the different strategies and different ways that they can build their child's communication skills. So we've been around for almost 80 years, and we have a variety of services, all the way from comprehensive pediatric audiology services. So we're testing children at all ages, newborns to 18 years old, to determine if there is a hearing loss. And if there is a hearing loss, we then can provide support and education, intervention in a variety of different forms based on the child and family's needs.
Wow, thank you so much, Kat, for sharing that with us. And what I picked up from that was, it almost sounded like, or sounds to me like there's this one, say, big why, and it's like that center guide where these families have come together to then support the children's in need with the hearing loss, etc. So you said then, if, for instance, you test a child and you realize, say, they do have some hearing issues, what would be the process? As in, what are the steps after, say, you identify there is an issue there?
Sure, that's a really great question. In the United States, we now finally, in the last 20 years, have something called the Universal Newborn Hearing Screening. So when a child is born in the hospital, they do have a screening to rule out a hearing loss. It doesn't rule out everything. Things can happen after the child or newborn leaves the hospital. If there is a red flag or the child needs to refer and needs a follow-up, they can come to us. And if something happens later on, if a child isn't meeting their milestones, their speech or language milestones, if a parent or a pediatrician or a teacher has a concern that the speech isn't developing typically, then they can come to us. And we have a variety of comprehensive assessments, audiological evaluations. If a child, and sometimes that takes a while to really determine based on the different levels of a child's hearing ability. If there is a hearing loss, then immediately we make sure that the family has support. We have a counselor on staff. We have support groups available where families can learn from other families going through the same thing. We have therapists and teachers available for early intervention that can help families navigate. In the United States, we have school districts and different educational plans for children based on their age. So there's so many new terms and so many new things for families that they weren't maybe expecting, that they have not had experience with, that our therapists and interventionists and can help a family navigate their specific journey based on their specific needs. So one of the things that we really value is we respect a family's choice for their child. You know, every child is very different. Every family is very different. And what they want and what that family's goal, we are there to help them along the way, along that journey. And so we're empowering families. We're helping families learn what opportunities, what options are for their children. And we're making sure that they're receiving that compassion, that empathy in this journey. You know, typically the statistics show that around 92 to 95% of children that are born with hearing loss are born to hearing parents. So the parents may not have ever met anyone else with hearing loss. They might not know what to do. They might not understand the impact that hearing loss can have on their child and what the next steps are. So we really make sure that parents have a support system and guidance so that they can really have a sense of hope and so that they can feel empowered to make the best decision for their family and for their child.
Yeah, and thanks again, Kat, for sharing that with us. And yeah, it's super important to understand and realize that it's not only, say, the child with the hearing issue that is affected, because there's also obviously the parents that are there to support their child too. So this now leads me on to, say, the next question. So since its founding in 1943, what would you say have been some of your greatest struggles and how did you overcome them?
Sure. Such a great question. 80 years is a long time. And like any organization, like any nonprofit, there's many challenges, there's many separations. I think that a challenge might be over the years is families feeling alone and families not having, because this is a disability that is what is considered a low incident disability. Not very many people know or have experiences with other people with hearing loss. And so I think one of the challenges is getting out there and knowing that we're here and that there's different options available. I think that, hearing loss doesn't take a vacation. It doesn't, it doesn't stop. It hits all ranges of socioeconomic families, but really the families that are really, I think the biggest problem is those in the community that are underrepresented, those in the community of low income. They definitely have less access to hearing health care. They have less access to parent education. And I think that's been a struggle, not really for our organization, but for our community. And one of the things that we're really trying to overcome. I think technology 80 years ago was a challenge for children with hearing loss. There was not as many opportunities. Hearing aids at that time weren't providing enough access or gain. So someone with hearing loss 80 years ago, a child born with hearing loss 80 years ago, the challenge was that they only had a certain amount of technology available for them. But so much has changed over the years. We're so very lucky, the world that we live in and the research that's out there and the technology that's available for those born with different hearing abilities, that that's something that's really changed over time. That's a blessing and so exciting in our field.
Yeah, I totally agree, Kat, about the advancement, say, of technology, because
Phenomenal.
I mean, so many people I've heard before saying about technology, but today is a day. We are living in the best age of technology, and technology is something that only gets better. It doesn't ever get worse, I believe. So it's amazing to hear, say, all of those advancements with the technology for what you guys are doing. So another question that I'd like to lead on to would be, why would you say that what you guys do there is so important? What is the reason why it's so important to help these children?
Sure. I mean, that's such a great question. I think not only are we just helping the children, but we're helping the families, because it does, it takes a village. Everyone nowadays, more than just the parents, are raising children. Families are involved, in raising the little ones and helping them build their access. I think what's so important is roughly the families that we serve are around 95% low income, and children from lower income homes, like I was saying before, underrepresented ethnic groups, they're less likely to receive timely diagnosis. They're less likely to receive follow-up, less likely to have equal access to things like hearing aids or cochlear implants, less likely to receive early intervention. And so I think the most important one of the really kind of critical things that JTC is doing is that we're helping fill the gap for those low income and underrepresented children and families. They need to have that direct service, that early intervention. Research shows that if you have that early intervention, then the outcomes are better. And we also know, especially because Louise Tracy, our founder, felt so passionate about involving the family in every step. We also know that research shows that if you're involving the whole family, the child's outcome is better as well. In the United States, I actually don't know the stats, worldwide, but for every 1,000 babies born, 2 to 3 are born with permanent hearing loss, and that's all different levels of hearing loss. Right now, worldwide, there's over 34 million children with hearing loss in the world, and I think that being the organization that we are, not only in Southern California, but we have options for families worldwide. Our goal is really to be able to give families that support, that hope, that guidance, that encouragement, that anything is possible for their child.
Yeah, and what you said there, Kat, there was some sort of huge numbers of children, say, living with hearing loss, etc. So what would you say then is, or are some of the biggest needs of the individuals that you support, and how are you part of the solution?
Oh, great question. So children who are diagnosed with hearing loss and are able to receive or have access and receive early intervention by 6 months of age, they have much better language acquisition outcomes. They avoid kind of poor academic or social emotional outcomes. And so we know that the earlier that we're able to identify children with hearing loss, and the earlier we can get them into our intervention services, our support services, the better outcome for those children. In the United States, there's something called the Joint Committee on Infant Hearing, and that's to make sure that we are screening newborns by 1 month of age, diagnosing them by 3, and getting them into intervention by 6 months of age. Our goal is sooner than that. Let's get them, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, so that they're on the right path. The other thing is that we don't only diagnose, and we're not only seeing newborns. So, we're seeing all the way up to 18 years old. And we're also providing pediatric assessments for children of all ages. And something that happens is a child may not be meeting their language milestones, speech milestones, and maybe they're 2 or 3 years old. There may be another diagnosis going on. And so we need to rule out hearing loss so that child, that family can get put into the right type of intervention. We do also offer speech services and language services for children with speech delays that may not necessarily have hearing loss. That's something new that we've started. But overall, kind of our mission is those parent-centered services here locally or globally for families that have children with hearing loss, to give them that kind of empowerment.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic what you guys are doing there. So another question that I'd love to ask is, how many individuals would you say that you've supported over the years?
Okay, so 80 years is a really long time, and I would love to know the exact number. We're estimating that it's 250,000 families.
Wow.
Since 1943. So that's a lot of families. That's a lot of lives changed, and that's a lot of success stories. We've seen countless cases of transformative success over the years, and roughly we see a little over 3,000 families per year. But because we're with families for a long period of time, the depth of the services and the intervention, so it's not just one time that we're seeing families, we're seeing them over a long period of time. And so there's children, I've been around for 20 years here. There's children that I've seen when they first came in, just a couple months old, that are now in college and off, on amazing paths. So roughly that's around the amount that we see each year. And really the depth of services, the hours of intervention, the hours of support groups that we provide year after year is pretty phenomenal. And something I'm really proud of, the impact that we've made.
Yeah, well, Kat, like you say, 80 years is a very long time. So I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure you've managed to impact many lives. So
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. So what is your guys' vision for the future? What is the vision for the future there?
So because we have so many different programs and services that we provide, we have very big visions. Children who are deaf or hard of hearing, we want them to have endless opportunities to have and develop to the best of their potential, develop the speech, language, and listening skills that they need, and that they have that available at any time. We want families anywhere in the world to be able to be equipped and empowered with knowledge, ability, with confidence, so that they can help their children achieve their full communication potentials. And I think that what we talked earlier about is that earlier intervention piece, is that we as experts in listening and spoken language, in pediatric audiology, we want to continue to embrace technology. We want to be able to promote that early intervention. And we also want to promote educating future leaders. We do have a graduate program as well that helps scholars in our program in partnership with a local university to be leaders in the field as well.
Wow, big visions. So for anybody say listening, what can somebody do to help, and what action steps can they take to be a part of the solution?
Sure. I think the first thing is kind of reflecting on the question, what would you do if your child received a diagnosis of hearing loss? Who would you go to turn for support? How would you be able to find parents facing the same questions and the same feelings? Reflecting on that, and then really recognizing that John Tracy Center is available for anyone locally or globally. So anyone that is facing the situation where they're just learning that their child has a hearing loss can come to us, come to our website, and we can help them navigate with a variety of programs that we offer. Online, we have access, or even mail-based. We still send out courses and materials for families. So that's one thing. If a family is experiencing the grief of having a child with hearing loss, not knowing what to do and not knowing the next steps, they can come to us. Our website is jtc.org. And those types of questions kind of lay the foundation of what we do at JTC. And I think that the next step, if someone wants to help with their time and talent, we have volunteers that can participate, that can interact in a variety of different ways. If those want to participate or help out financially, we, just like every organization, just like every nonprofit, we still want to make sure that we provide these services at the lowest cost possible for families. And that we help close that gap. So we have on our website, we have a big donate button, and you can donate online. And so there's a variety of ways that people can help.
Amazing. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Kat. And for you listening, if you've enjoyed this episode, please press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. That way, it will show the algorithms that this is an important conversation, so more people can learn the importance of supporting children who are deaf or hard of hearing.